Hey everybody, my name's Gabe Giannis, and if I hated you, you would know. I don't know why I did finger guns there. I mean, I guess finger gun. This is just... Anyway, so, yeah, welcome to this issue of If I Hated You, You Would Know. If you are a loyal fan, you may have noticed that it's a little late. I'm a little late posting this today. There's a couple reasons. First, I bit off a little more than I could chew, editing-wise, and you will understand why after the next article. And also, at the beginning of this, I didn't really talk about anything. I don't think. There's like one part of the intro that I was like, yeah, I like that, and it insert clip here. It's big and open world, and oh, really, cat, and it's just kind of stop. Oh my goodness. Well, that's what happens. When you mess with the camera, you get to be on camera. What do you think? That should be the rule. When you jerk with the camera, you get to be a jerk on camera. So this is Skittles. Yes. All right. Bye-bye. Anyway, yeah, I didn't talk about anything. Like, nothing sparked me. And I think a big part of that is because I was trying to get back to something, right? I wasn't excited to do this like I normally am. I was excited to do that. And that is Play Crimson Desert. And I'm going to make a whole video about that. So I'm not going to talk about any of my thoughts on it right here. But I do want to put that in your brain. And I do want to put that I have a couple more ideas. And I wrote them down. I'm going to talk, I'm going to do like a future video. It might not be article. It might be more in one of these where I talk a little bit about like the idea of heaven and not heaven. Just based on like a conversation I have with my friend David, not David Otterby that I interviewed, but David Herrera that I interviewed 2 times before. So, or whatever, however many times before. I'm going to do that. In May, I'll be visiting my mom. We were going to do the trip this weekend, but my mom got wrangled into doing a fundraiser in Kansas City with my stepdad, I guess. I haven't really figured that out. We call him Papa Roger. I love him. But yeah, they're going to the Great American Vibrator Race. So that's an awesome text message to get from your mom. I just need to throw that out. And we did think about planning around and going to that this weekend, but the costs involved made it a little tricky. But in May, I'm going to be sitting down and talking with my mom for hopefully a pretty extended period of time about how our unique situation. I was adopted when I was 3 days old. I was raised by an autistic mom and a Catholic dad. My mom would never accept a diagnosis of autism because it was a different time. But so I was raised kind of strange. Like, I grew up really weird for a lot of people. I did not grow up in the traditional sense, like I would say. And on top of it, it was the 80s. So I was like largely unsupervised. When I talk to my kids about it, I really talk about how in a lot of ways, while my dad molded and guided me a lot, and my mom taught me how to dig deeply and think hard about things, past that, I had to do a lot of self-raising. And that means that I ended up being who I am today way later in life, I think, than a lot of people do. Like, I see content out there on YouTube from like 20-year-olds where I'm like, oh man, that's cool. That's cool that they're like already emotionally and mentally there. Because when I was 20, I was fucking slamming Robitussin and Mad Dog 2020. So anyway, it's beside the point. But so look forward to the heaven, no heaven discussion. And then probably a series of interviews with my mom about meeting her for the first time. And kind of what her life has been like and what my life has been like. And I think that'll be a really cool conversation. And it's really the only interview that I think I want to take in an extremely directed place. Because I want to know more about the person that gave birth to me, but I didn't meet until I was in my 30s, right? And so there's a lot of nuance there, right? Because obviously we were raised separately, so we don't have the same, or I mean, in a lot of ways, raised as right. Like, my mom gave birth to me when she was very, very young, which we'll all talk about. But, yeah, like we came up different, right? And in different environments and different situations with different people, sometimes the same people, strangely enough. But, it's crazy. Like, you don't think about what it'd be like to meet probably the closest possible person that someone could be to you, right? Like, your mom literally gave birth to you. Imagine not meeting her for the bulk of your life. It's crazy. And I want to hear her side, and I want to share my side, and I want other people to hear that, because I think it's really important, and hopefully it encourages some people to do digging or be satisfied, because either or is good, I think, in a lot of ways. Man, that's going to make me really emotional thinking about that. And probably, oh man, I bet we both cry a bunch. So if you want to see a big middle-aged man cry, the finger guns today. But anyway, that's in the future. Coming up even more shortly is I'm going to be doing a series of videos about how late 19th century American evangelicism primed me to become an atheist. Like, it basically made me who I am today in the weirdest, most backwards way possible. So I really want to talk about that a lot, but I'm going to be digging pretty deep into it, talking about like where I was in the past, what it was like kind of in this middle period in my life where everything was very chaotic, but very Christian focused. And then, you know, after that, what the aftermath of that looked like. And then coming into, I honestly want to say coming into being finally comfortable with who I am as a person. Like, I have a lot of hang-ups about my physical appearance. I have a lot of hang-ups about kind of my emotional responses to people. I can be a very angry person, and I really try to hold that close to me so that I don't lash out at the people I care about, because, man, it's cathartic to lash out, right? But it took me reinventing everything that I understood to be truth to get to that point. So, yeah, I hope those are enjoyable and interesting topics for you. I'm trying to pre-plan a little bit more, and it's mostly because of Monday. So I want to talk about that a little bit, and then we'll move on to my main topic and then the other things. But so on Monday I sat down, you know, I was really excited. I've been playing this game, got like 100 hours in already. It's very fun for me. I really like it. And it's a time sink, but it also is like pulling me, like, right. It's calling my name. So I started my day by playing the game and getting involved and being invested, right? And I was into it. And then I was like, oh shit, I gotta make my video. Well, I'll just go do the intro, and then I got a bunch of editing to do on the back end. But then I'll make my video really quick, and then I'll go back to playing my game. And that's exactly what I did. And as a consequence, like, I just didn't say anything, and I wasn't interested in anything, and I wasn't excited. I mentioned the game, and that's about it, right? And a few other things, like anecdotes from my week, things I thought were funny. But that's not, like, great, right? That's, like, not me talking about something. That's me kind of just like, okay, these are the things I did. All right, bye. And that sucks, right? You guys don't want that. I don't want that. This is for me. I mean, more than for me. This is, like, for us. And you'll see a little bit more of that, like, as we go on in the video. The collaborative nature of a zine is one of my favorite things in the world to do. I remember when I was in high school, we put together this zine called Christ Loves the Underground, or CLU, right? And I was like very, very proud of it. Like, I think I still have some issues of it laying around. I think one of my favorite things that we ever did is we interviewed Five Iron Frenzy, and like our zine was supposed to be like 10 pages long, but the interview went so long and we recorded it all and I was able to transcribe it that we turned it into like a 36-page like chapbook or something insane like that. It wasn't really that. It was like 17 pages, but it was just like this endless interview about absolutely nothing, right? And that's awesome. That ability to just lean in and just do whatever the fuck you want to do is crazy, right? And it's so much fun. But the other part of it that was fun is we all went to the same school together, the guys that all worked on it. I want to say there was probably like 6 to 8 of us that contributed at one point in time or another. All the guys that were in my old punk band, and our friend Matt Roney, who drove us all across the country like a crazy person. Like, just random people would be like, "Oh, that's neat, that's fun, I want to do that too." And we would say, "Cool, do it, make your thing." Like, if you want us to do the clip art for the pages, we will, if you just want to write an article. But if you want to make your whole page, just make a page and hand it to us and we'll tape it in. Right? And that's what this should be too. And this should be about me, like, being excited about things and talking about things that I care about and that I'm interested in, but also sharing things that you give me to share, right? That you say, "Oh, let's do this thing." Whether it's to help, launch something that you're interested in, or if you just want to share and don't have a place for it. And because of that, that means I want to take it seriously and be here when I do it. I want to be with this. I want to be doing it. I want to be invested and involved and not distracted. Not distracted, right? Like, and I talked about that extensively with Dragon's Dogma 2 and this need to like focus, to pay attention, right? And if I do that, then these will be better, right? They'll be more entertaining. They'll be more interesting. I'll talk about things that I'm like actively interested in instead of something that I'm just eager to get back to, right? So, yeah. So it's late. I wasn't happy. And that's the beauty of a zine too, is it's not making any money. It's not there for a commercial benefit. I don't have an advertiser that I'm beholden to. Like, I'm out there trying to do something that somebody might find entertaining. But I've explicitly stated, I look at my subscriber count because I'm interested, and it's exciting to watch number go up. Sometimes I play video games where that's the whole point, number go up, but it's not the end all be all, right? My channel right now says that it can't earn, and I'll talk about that in the next segment a little bit, why. And why would I make it fast and shitty if I don't have to, right? If I don't have to inshitify it just to get it out on time so that the algorithm recognizes that I post every Wednesday at midnight, man, fuck you, Google. Fuck you, algorithm that's dictating who sees what. Yeah. So what if people don't see it? Because you know how many people saw CLU? Like 100, maybe? Over 3 years, and probably close to a dozen issues. I don't know. We weren't really consistent. Yeah, there's comet buses out there, right? Zines that become a career, that launch an idea. Yeah, there's Maximum Rock and Roll out there. Monthly comes out, tons of information, tons of content. But for every one of those successful in that it's viewed a lot and maybe makes some money zines, there's millions that 5 people have seen. So yeah, I'm late. I want to make something that I'm happy about, because it's my zine, not yours. Unless you want to be a part of it, then it's your zine too. And then you can be like, hey, I gave you the thing. And I'll be like, hey, I need to make sure that it all looks decent, that we're all putting it together. Right? So, yeah. Welcome to this issue. Be back in a second. I am trying to intentionally think of these as like issues instead of episodes, right? Because episodic seems so timed, and issue, I mean, who cares? It's just when it comes out. The thing I actually want to talk about, right, is that really grabbed my attention is a situation that's been happening for the last like couple years. Let me see when the oldest article I have up is. They might all be pretty fresh articles, but yeah, I probably cut this little part out. That big silence right there, if I forget to cut this out, was where I was making a space on the audio so that I cut this out. So I'm not going to find the oldest one. I come from the 90s, right? Probably some of you do too. I mean, technically I come from the 70s and lived through the 80s, but like really like high school for me was like middle school and high school, like those really formative times that you see in like, you know, Stephen King movies is that middle to high school age. And for me, that was the 90s. Sorry, I had to take a drink. In the 90s, there's two things that I think were like part of the cultural zeitgeist that apply to this. First, labels. We love labeling things, right? You want to label things for several different reasons, right? You want to label things so that you know what that is, and you want to label things so you know what you are, right? And this is kind of definitely the rise of like identity politics. Like people, because they were free to say that they were a homosexual, would assert that they were a homosexual. Because it was more acceptable to say that you were a vegan, people would assert that they were a vegan. Because it was important to know which subculture you were a part of. You would label yourself, right? I am a metalhead. I am a punk. I love rap. I am this. I am that. And people were very interested in creating those labels for themselves. The difference, I think, well, I'll get to the difference in a second. The second thing is this joke. I'm probably on a government list somewhere, right? And I probably am. And the reason I think that I am is because my YouTube channel can't be monetized. And it says because I support a violent extremist group. I'm not sure when I said something like that it might be the flag over my shoulder. I don't really know. And I don't really care. But it does indicate to me that I'm probably on some kind of list somewhere. I'm certainly on a list of YouTube channels that can't be monetized. So, which is totally fine. Because, again, not the point. So, those two things are working together in a society where labeling yourself has become increasingly more important because like your personal identity has become extremely important to people for positive and negative reasons, right? And being able to assert who you are is important, but also it gives other people the opportunity to assert for you who you are. And when we spend a lot of time like labeling things and creating like groups of things, in groups and out groups, we create like these situations. Ooh, we might get a remake. We create these situations where we are creating in groups and out groups that we can discriminate against. And I mean that in a very broad sense, right? Because see, I said a remake, but I didn't mean the knock the camera over part. Stop. Okay, thank you. I can't reach you. Anyway, that might get cut out. So, when I think back to like the 90s and think about the way like a lot of us were, there was this sensibility that if you liked metal music, it was not okay to like rap music. Those two subcultures weren't supposed to meet each other. And if they did, you know, there might be bad things, you know, these people don't like these people and violence. Because, you know, both subcultures have very aggressive like ethos. Once those two things started coming together, we realized, like, I think generally as a society that was okay, right? That's just kind of how music grows, and we create new things by combining things, and that sort of nuance conversation. That might just be because I'm older, but I don't see that really culturally as much. Like, my kid has a very wide array of musical tastes that have nothing to do with single genres of music. So think about that with your sexual identity, or your gender identity, or your marriage status, or your racial identity, or your cultural identity, right? So we've created all these subcategories of people to label. Most of the time, that's driven by us wanting to label ourselves so people don't have a misunderstanding, right? And it helps us also find like intersections, like this concept of intersectionality, where we have intermeshing ideas. We may not agree on everything, but there's certain connection points that we share. Like, maybe, I'm really fiscally conservative. That's not true. Like, so let's be true. So I believe in socialist economic theory, and my friend is a fiscal conservative, but we both believe in universal health care. Okay? Like, that's an intersection. Or we both believe in, ending Citizens United. That's something that most people can agree on. Corporations shouldn't pay for elections. So that kind of intersectionality has created that kind of labeling helps drive this idea that we can find intersectionality. But often what we use it for instead is to create like in-groups and out-groups, saying that like, well, I'm this and you're that, so we can't spend time with each other, etc. All right, quick pause while I take this pencil from the cat. Because unfortunately, like, we have intersectionality with people we'll dislike. That's just natural. That's the way the world works. So initially, I think labeling has like a good purpose, right? We're trying to express to other people who we are so there isn't confusion. But on the flip side, labeling allows people to label you and say, well, you said you're this, so you're that. And you say, well, there's a little more to it than that. No. Like, Christianity is a really good example. I know so many people that say they're a Christian. I'm a Christian. The range of thought goes from hyper-nationalist, racist, to dyed-in-the-wool communist. Goes from, I think that Muslims should be killed, to, I think there's no such thing as hell, right? Like, there's the depth and breadth of what is Christianity is massive, right? But when I say, if somebody says to me, I'm a Christian, I have one thought that comes into my brain. And I'm not even going to share it because your thought might be totally different. But you have a thought. When I hear somebody say, I am a Muslim man, if I don't see you, I have an image, right? Because we've created these labels. And yeah, you have labeled yourself so that there's less confusion, but people will label you and still be confused, right? They won't hold on to the nuance. Because it's impossible to hold on to the nuance because there's just too many people. The only way we can really experience nuance is if we're having conversations, which is why I love doing the interviews so much. So what do we do with a label? We put it in a list, right? It used to be a joke that I'm probably on a government watch list, but there's two things that came up literally just in the news today. The first is that a judge demanded that Penn State release records to Jewish-related organizations as an investigation of anti-Semitic harassment at Penn. So they want a list of all the people at Penn State who are in Jewish organizations. So there's two lists. People at Penn State, Jews. Make a list. David Otterby and I think are going to talk extensively here in a couple weeks about what is a Jew? Is it somebody born to it? Is it somebody converted? How do you determine for a government list which is the right kind of Jew? Which kind of Jew do we need? That's a scary place to be. But on top of it, Trump also signed an executive order yesterday to create federal voter lists. So if you filled out a voter registration card, it has all your identifying information. In Colorado, the voter registration has obviously all of your vital information, like important information, but it also has your party affiliation, because we vote in Colorado. We don't. You can choose, I believe, which primary to vote in, but you can vote in any of the primaries. But you have to put down you can put unaffiliated, but you put down a political affiliation. And Colorado's voter registration card also has a gender identity marker. So if all of that information is being compiled, if you marked X, because that's one of the options on the voter ID for non-binary, you've labeled yourself and you're on a list. This idea of like lists and labels and creating structures where we can decide who is this or that is not good, right? It's a terrifying prospect to give so few people so much power and information about other people, right? When we say, this dude controls all of it, that's not okay, right? We are meant to be a pluralistic society. We are meant to be like the voice of the many dictating. The dictators in the United States are meant to be us. We are meant to be the people that are saying, this is what you should do. And I know that Trump will, can go out there and say, I got the popular vote. I got this. I got that. Good on you running a real slick marketing campaign, because you got people fooled. Because right now, every price is up and we're in a war. I'm watching video of an aircraft carrier sailing out of California, thinking about my son who's in the military. And yeah, he's in National Guard, but that's still scary, because I know it can get chaotic here now. More chaotic, I think, than it's been in my lifetime for sure. And probably since the 70s, the 60s, when the weathermen were bombing things, and Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King Jr. were all assassinated. We've seen assassinations, right? Like, this is a dark timeline. The power of industry moves against humans, against natural life, right? It creates and burns and destroys to feed itself, right? We're destroying our own planet so that the machines can have more power and water. I think about... So Mel has never seen the full Lord of the Rings films. I'm a big fan. Also a big fan of the books. I am no Stephen Colbert. But thinking about this and thinking about Palantir is scary. Lists and labels, to what end we don't know. But today the president is sitting in the Supreme Court listening to them debate birthright citizenship, something that they're having to debate because of his executive order. You don't think the president sitting in on the Supreme Court is strange? Be hard pressed. Let's look. Quick pause. In the history of our country, by doing some light research, I don't see any moment where the president has sat in on a Supreme Court case that's like being heard. It feels like intimidation, right? It feels like a bully tactic to like push a hand. And what is he trying to push the hand of? Birthright citizenship. It's a label. The most important label that we have as Americans. Citizen. A service, like a job, a position, a title that each of us has, right? An idea, a concept, a movement that we collectively, on average, believe that this place can be better and that it's our job to make it better. We have different visions of what better looks like a lot of the time, but this ain't it. This ain't it. My dad is a birthright citizen. A lot of my family are birthright citizens because my grandparents were never citizens. So how far back do we go? Because George Washington, not a fucking citizen if he's not born here. There's no citizens with the exception of the tribes, like the people that were here. So why? Why do it? Why bully? Because it's a drive, it's a push to control, to dictate, and to list, and to label. Because lists and labels allow you to eliminate voices. To say, well, this group, they can't vote, and this group can't vote, and these people, they're not even citizens anymore. It's a dangerous place to be in. And what's more is that you have to have a pretty decent pop cultural understanding to see that they're even joking about it in our face. Palantir is a term that comes from the Lord of the Rings. Some of you people may or may not know this, but it's a seeing stone. A palantir is like a crystal ball that can see whatever the other crystal ball is seeing. And there's more than one. And what's the trick? Is that if you can see whatever that crystal ball is seeing, then it can see whatever you're seeing. And that means it can see you. And the thing that scares Gandalf about the Palantir that Saruman is using, and I know that's super nerd sentencing, but the thing that makes Gandalf scared is we don't know where all the Palantirs are. So we don't know who's watching. Because while we can use the power to our benefit and watch them, they can use the power to their benefit and watch us. They can list and label us. They can make sure that we're out and they're in. And right now, they have all of the cards in their hand. They have the political power. They have money. They have limited numbers, but numbers that can organize if pushed hard enough. We saw it on January 6th. Who's looking through your Palantir? Your black box, your camera. You're on a list. I hope you got your labels right. Be back in a second. Man, that ended over dramatic. I don't know where that came from. But, so, I'm going to present an article now about Descript AI and kind of my opinions about it. I'm only prefacing this with this little intro because I would love your feedback, right? Like always. If these kind of like shorter like video essay articles help within the confines of this, or you think they should be separate, let me know. I may or may not use your advice. Thank you very much. And then, yeah, I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. The promise of AI is huge. With one click, you can edit your video, insert flying dragons into your image, make the person you are crushing on dance around naked. It's billed as the cure-all that will run the robots that work our factories, teach the students of the future, and do all the hard coding of programming work, and finally crack the mystery of the stock market. Day to day, this is an idea and a technology that I wrestle with more than pretty much any other technology that I have. Part of me wonders if it's just how old I am. People that grew up with radio thought that television would kill us all. People that grew up with television saw only the downsides of the internet. And now a generation born and raised with the internet are faced with a new tool that could really go either way on the positive or negative results scale. So, I saw a video for Descript AI and the promise was so enticing that I had to give it a try. Let's talk about my last 3 weeks with Descript. Here's the pitch. With a few clicks and some AI trickery, editing your video will be so easy and so simple that you will wonder, why do all these plebes edit with old people software? By using the Underlord, a witty name for an AI editor to be sure, you can streamline your editing process and curate the kind of polished and seamless videos that will bring you subs on subs on subs. There are dozens of videos talking about how easy it is to use, how low the barrier of entry is, and how super slick this editor will make your videos look. For anyone looking to bring a higher level production of their videos, maybe personalize what they are doing or even professionalize it, or simply wanting to add captions to their video, if they type that into their search bar on YouTube, something about Descript is probably going to come up. So the pitch is simple. Quickly and easily take care of the tedious and mundane parts of video editing. And with the suite of tools that are available, you will be able to make slick and professional looking videos for the low price of $24 a month. At the low end. Honestly, promise kept for the most part.
By now, you have probably heard of the company called Groupon, even though it started only 3 years ago as a side project of a quirky young Midwesterner. What he did was reinvent the coupon, turning it into a digital tool for bargain hunting at your neighborhood stores. The company took off almost overnight. It's global now, raking in hundreds of millions of dollars a month. Wall Street took notice. This past November, Well, Mason really only partially revolutionized shopping. And when you look at Groupon today, it isn't anything like the original premise, I think, for most people, which was internet coupon clipping. Instead, it provides deals on events and places to visit that you probably could find on your own without too much effort. Not really anything like it was in the past. Probably because there isn't typically money to be earned in saving people money. But the big promise of Groupon delivered, for a while. Sort of, I guess. In 2011, Mason was on the cover of Forbes magazine, in a good way. By 2012, Mason was labeled the worst CEO of the year by a CNBC reporter. And by 2013, Groupon was firing Mason as the leader after an $81 million net loss of his last quarter. So what? Why are we talking about Mason? Well, because he's the founder of Descript AI. I think it's important to touch on his past because I think it plays into this all a bit. First, efficiency, and then whimsy. First, Groupon and Descript have a very particular mindset, efficiency. Both sides are about finding something that you enjoy, coupon clipping or video editing, and then trying to remove the tedious part, in this case, the clipping and the editing, leaving behind the fun, the coupon and the video.
What drives the efficiency component? Of course, leaving behind the fun. Everything that Mason was criticized for was his whimsy, and that he wasn't great at the business part. In an article from The Independent, people are quoted as saying that he comes off more like a big kid than a company leader. And shortly after he was fired, he was fairly flippant about his time with Groupon. Time magazine described it like this. Quote, Mason, 32, who is worth more than $200 million, wrote that he is okay with having failed at this part of the journey and compared Groupon to the 1990 era video game Battletoads, writing, it would be like I made it all the way to the TerraTubes without dying on my first ever playthrough. Mason then went on to say that he is looking for a good fat camp to lose my Groupon 40, if anyone has a suggestion, unquote. Making a Battletoads reference after being fired as a CEO speaks to a level of disconnection from the business and market side of things and a much deeper connection with the creative side. I think this is a big part of why Groupon didn't work for Andrew Mason. There isn't a whole lot of fun to be had in coupons, but YouTube videos. In 2016, Mason moved on to a new project, starting Detour, an app that allowed people to make non-standard walking tours of places. This was purchased by Bose in 2018 and no longer exists, which is a little wild because it seems like the kind of thing that would have really worked well during COVID. But in a 2018 article in TechCrunch about that purchase, Mason notes that he will help Bose for a while, but that he's moving on to his new project Descript, which has its roots in Detour. While working on the audio files for Detour, Mason found that software available for audio production at the time was very efficient for editing music, but not very good for editing spoken word. The idea that came to mind to solve this is actually pretty brilliant. If you could take this transcription of audio that you've created and then just edit the audio by editing the transcript, you could really simplify the editing process for audio. Poof! The idea for Descript was born. So, with some money from Groupon stocks and another $5 million in seed money from Anderson Horowitz, Descript was up and running. Detour went bye-bye, and Descript began its work with Lyrebird, a Montreal-based AI voice cloning startup founded by PhD students under Turing Prize winner Yoshua Bengio. Through this partnership, they were able to create the Overdub, a platform that allows you to edit the text of a document to edit the audio. And honestly, this was the part of Descript that I was the most interested in. But Descript wasn't about to just rest on that. As Descript began to grow, the suite of tools that became available grew with the technological leaps that AI made and is currently making. That suite eventually became the Underlord. I'll let you tell it about itself.
Meet Underlord, your AI video editing assistant built right into Descript. I can write scripts from scratch, tailored to your vision and platform. I edit by text, remove filler words, clean up audio, and polish your content instantly. I generate visuals. Need B-roll, images, or even AI avatars? I'll create them for you. I build complete videos, layouts, captions, transitions, and scenes, all assembled automatically. From concept to final cut, I'm here to make video creation effortless.
These are really powerful video editing tools, and while they are in general fairly easy to use, they're very difficult to use in a way that I feel is ethical. I'm not going to get into the big geopolitical aspects of water and power and employment or future lack thereof. I'm talking about my personal, artistic, and creative ethics. It's too easy to slip into creative white lies here for the betterment of a product, and I'm not really interested in making a product. For me, this is an artistic endeavor. A while back, I did a video essay for a class that got posted here, but the voiceover is so bad that it's hard to listen to, and I don't think I still have it up, and I should probably re-record the audio. But in that video, I talk about the truthful lie and the artful truth, comparing the realism of David's paintings, which were propaganda that ebbed and flowed with whoever was in charge, and Goya's political paintings that are not realistic, twisted bodies shaped to mimic Greek sculptures. But those bodies are casualties of war. In the artistry, he's telling the truth of the horrors that he's seen. David is making a product to be sold and shared and used to mold hearts and minds. Goya is making art to tell his truth, to tell his reality. The mistakes, the blemishes, the things that make this unslick, that's what attracts me to doing it. With Descript, I can make it a product. With a single click, I can do the thing that I want it to do. Take out all the ums, ers, and you knows. With a single click, I can also improve the audio track. Lord knows I need that. I can cut and paste a document to move clips inside the video. That's really easy and honestly a really cool way to be able to edit a video. But there's more there though. Accomplishing a task manually is annoyingly tricky. Most of the time it's just way easier to ask Underlord to do it for you. Not making hard eye contact, well, Underlord will shift your gaze, mostly convincingly. Don't want to retake your flub? No problem. Just edit the text and it will generate your voice, saying the right line. I haven't tested if that works in video, and I don't really know that I want to. Video, generate it. Images, generate it. Voices, generate it. Not creating, not recording, generating. None of it is me. They're my thoughts, they're my ideas, but they're pulled from a cloud of everyone else's thoughts and ideas, generated from the whole, not from me. I think individualism is the bane of our country politically. When we ignore the well-being of the whole for the well-being of the self, we can't sustain ourselves. But the expression of the individual is what helps us understand the whole. The unique voices, the range of thoughts, the depth and breadth of people's views, that's what drives us to protect the whole. Knowing the beauty of an individual makes me want to wrap my arms around everyone. When we try to distill all those thoughts, voices, views, ideas, and passions into one commodified version of art, we get the soulless distillation that is AI. Descript pulls that distilled nothingness so close at hand that it's almost impossible to not use. They tout that Underlord has design sense and taste, but whose? Is it Andrew Mason? Because there's a YouTube video of that guy in tidy whities doing yoga in front of a Christmas tree. I'm not yucking his yum, but I don't know that we have the same taste. And I don't think Underlord does either. The whitewashed tomb of AI will never have the chaos mind that would do that. And he did. And that shit is art. So Descript, it isn't what I do. It isn't for what I do. What I do can't be trusted to AI because what I do has to have the bullshit. It has to have the bad cuts. It has to have the useless words. Because this is the expression, not the product. I'm not interested in making a product. And that means Descript just isn't for me. Seems like it wasn't really for Mason either, because this year he left Descript, or at least he stepped down as the CEO and is just kind of like a managing partner. It feels like he doesn't really want to do business. He wants to come up with ideas, and that is something that I can appreciate. That's something that I really think is genuine. But with this, I hope that he understands that being a creator and making creations is about being yourself. And yourself is that dude that plays Battletoads and wears tidy whities while he does yoga in front of a Christmas tree. And that's just something I don't think AI is ever going to come up with all on its own.
Hi there, my name is David, and I'm a recovering alcoholic and a recovering ex-evangelical, and this is your spiritual advisory. So you might be thinking, what is spiritual advisory and why is it on this channel? Well, let me just say, I think it's really interesting. The last interview that Gabe did with Davey Ottoby, Davey kind of brought up this concept of spirituality and what it means, and I actually know Davey, so this is stuff we've talked about before too. And when we think about this spiritual, I think because most of us probably are watching from America, and we were raised in some sort of American evangelicalism or this American Christianity that is really fucking up the country right now. I'll save my opinions. We think of spirituality as something to do with church, but when I talk about spirituality, I'm talking about this thing in between the mental and the physical. It's the way we feel, it's our emotions, it's trapped in this greater thing. And so I know there's plenty of people who equate spirituality to their religion, And I'm going to argue that religion can often be a great catalyst for spirituality, but spirituality is a lot more than that. And I think it's great for us to be taking care of that spiritual side. You might call it something different, and that's totally fine, but I think you can benefit from a lot of this stuff that I get to do in spiritual advisory. So, as announced, I am a recovering alcoholic, and I do work with addicts. And in that, I get to do what I call spiritual advisory. And in spiritual advisory, we talk a lot about mental health and how to take care of things and how to utilize tools from Qigong and Tai Chi to lessons from Buddhism, integrating things with Christianity and Judaism, and really look at how we can heal that element between the mental and the physical. And so today, I want to teach you about the medicine wheel. The medicine wheel is a foundational symbol for many indigenous people in North America. It represents holistic health, healing, and the interconnectedness of life. So really the way it's depicted is this circle that's divided into 4 colored quadrants, which are usually red, yellow, black, and white. And they represent 4 directions or stages of life. These aspects of being physical, emotional, mental, and spiritually charged, and it's all about achieving balance. And so there are many uses, there's many variations of the medicine wheel. If you think about most religions, there's always just think about something you're familiar with, like the cross. And we see a cross and we think of Christianity, but crosses are used to reveal different things, and they're also used in different ways. Some people prefer to have the image of Jesus Christ on the cross, representing his crucifixion. Other people just have the cross to maybe represent his resurrection. Whatever it is, different religions use different symbols in different ways. So today I just want to talk about what I learned, which is more of the North American indigenous view of the medicine wheel, and we're going to look at how it's used in a program called Wellbriety, which is sort of a combination of Alcoholics Anonymous and indigenous healing and holistic approaches to becoming a better person and really working through addiction. So you might be watching this already thinking, A, this is weird because it's spiritual, and B, I'm not an alcoholic or an addict. That's okay. I would argue everybody is addicted to something. It could be food, video games, movies, porn, all kinds of things that we use to get those dopamine hits. And we do need some sort of grounding. And I always think it's good to just do a health check, a spiritual health check, and say, where am I at with my spiritual health? So I hope you watch this to the end and kind of maybe see where you can use the medicine wheel, this ancient tradition, to kind of see maybe how you can gauge your mental and spiritual health. So I'm going to kind of look at this picture with you about the medicine wheel, but I just want you to know that medicine wheels are actually, the way I was introduced to the medicine wheel is that it was actually on the ground, and it was about a 50-foot medicine wheel, and it's actually located in northern Colorado in Estes Park. And I'll go ahead and put kind of an image of where that's located. It was built by a spiritual advisor at Harmony Recovery Center, which is a treatment center for alcohol abuse and addiction. But he had placed this so that the clients would have a place to go to enjoy the medicine wheel, but it's also open to the public. But as far as discovering medicine wheels in North America, there is the oldest known medicine wheel called the Majorville medicine wheel, and that's actually located in Alberta, Canada, and it's estimated to be around 5,000 to 5,500 years old. It's about 9 meters across with 28 spokes radiating to a 27 meter diameter ring. And it's been used for ceremonies over millennia. The closest one to me, and I'm in southern Colorado, so depending where you're watching this, if you're in America, the closest one that's relatively older is the Bighorn medicine wheel in Wyoming, and so it's usually proclaimed to be like the most famous type site So it's in the Big Hill Mountains. It's roughly about 80 feet in diameter, and it's about 700 to maybe even over 3,000 years old. So it's these things exist in the ground, on the earth, and were used by indigenous people here in North America for a long time. And so, well, we're going to look at a picture of a medicine wheel. I just kind of want to go over the basics of the medicine wheel, how they're used, and kind of what's going on and how you place yourself on the medicine wheel. So there's 4 directions, and we're all very familiar with, I'm sure: north, east, south, and west. Every direction has its own animal and its own season, and this is just one example that I found that kind of corresponds with the way I was taught the medicine wheel. Again, in other cultures of the indigenous way and even their spiritual beliefs, sometimes there's different animals in different spots, but one key animal is what I'll end with in the north, is typically used to pretty much demonstrate the same meaning. So we'll start with the east. So the east, always remember, think about the east. Where does the sun rise? It rises in the east. And so the east is typically meant to represent new birth, new beginnings, a place where things are starting. The animal in the east is the eagle. And so think about the eagle and having perspective, and the eagle is above everything, and there's clear vision. There's a kind of a clear spot for the future in the east, and the eagle has this view, this overview of where it wants to be and what it wants to do. And so in the east is where there's a lot of newness, a lot of new beginnings, a lot of perspective. And then you go straight across to the west, you have the bear. Now think about the west and just think about the sun going down and the concept of rest or evening. Think about these, even on the east, something I missed is the season of spring. So there's newness, there's new beginnings. It's really relative to the east. When you go to the west, the season is fall, and fall represents death or even just the trees and nature taking a rest. The bear is, for all the growth that the bear has endured, the strength that the bear exhibits, the bear is the one animal that we think of when it comes to rest. We often equate the bear to hibernation, and it's something that the bear knows to do, right? Just to take a rest, just to put things down, just to go into contemplation. So there's a lot of contemplation in the West, and a lot of putting things to rest or to death even. And so the bear is a representation of strength, and yet the bear is also this representation of rest. And oftentimes strength is knowing when to rest, when to just say no. That takes a lot of strength. We live in a culture where we say yes to everything. So the bear is saying, I need to rest. I'm going to say no to that task. We move down to the south, and the south is often equated to a coyote or a wolf. The south is this place of nourishment, and the season is actually summer. I've been taught that the coyote is winter. I've also been taught that it's summer. For the purposes of this teaching, I'll just say that the south is representing summer. There's a fullness, there's youngness, there's youth, there's survival in the south. You think about the wolf and how smart a wolf is, or a coyote, depending on your version. It's a survivor, and it's learned to survive. It's also a youthful element on the medicine wheel, so it's almost representing being alive. And while there's survival in the south, and while there's a good thing to the adolescence and the summer of the south, there is also a bit of foolishness, right? In our youth, in our adolescence, we make foolish decisions. We are rushing into things, or we're not often paying attention to what's around us. We're enjoying so much of life and its fullness that we're not aware of potentially things that are happening. And so sometimes in the South, we can kind of get blindsided by certain emotions. So that takes us to the North. And in the North, there is really a wholeness. It's the buffalo is up north, and the buffalo is representing this completion, really. It's located in the season of winter, which the winter is long. The winter is all about endurance, and man, when you've reached north, you endure things. Think about, if you're looking at this picture of the medicine wheel, you see that the element in the north is fire, which is interesting because you need fire to survive in the night, in the winter, in the cold. It's also the antithesis of the snow, right? This thought of fire, and so there's this wholeness that comes with the buffalo. One story that I like to share regarding the buffalo is to think about this. The buffalo is think about it, so you're in the north and there's north winds coming through, right? So you just imagine this north wind pushing through the valley, and if you were to look at that valley, you see all these animals down here, and suddenly here comes this huge storm from the north. The north wind is blowing in, and these animals start running, right? They'll run away from the storm. That's what they think. When the storm comes in, they think, I'm running away from this storm. But if you think about it logically, if the storm's blowing in from the north, you actually end up running with the storm. You actually end up running with the problem. And so that storm becomes something more to endure, longer to endure, because while you think you're running away, you're actually running with the problem. The buffalo, if you look at the valley, and this is just in real life, the buffalo does not run from the storm. The buffalo faces the storm, feels the pressure of the storm, and then the buffalo turns his head and lets the storm come in. He lets the problem hit, and he just stands, and he's wise enough to know that if he stands and endures the storm, then he can last through. And it actually goes quicker if we're not running away from our problems. He endures the problem. He adjusts to the problem. I think you're connecting some of these things. So when you look at this wheel, you just start thinking, like, where am I ranging on this wheel? And how am I feeling? Am I in a place of new beginnings? Am I in a place where I need to put things to rest? Am I enjoying? Am I frolicking like the wolf? And enjoying this kind of adolescence of life and this freedom, or am I coming to a place of arrival? Am I coming to this north place of the buffalo and being wise? I'll apply this real quickly to when I meet with spirituality groups for addiction. We use a book called Wellbriety. And Wellbriety, like I said earlier, is this combination of sort of Alcoholics Anonymous principles and the holistic approach to recovery coming from the indigenous culture here in North America. So in Wellbriety, they sort of use the same concept of the medicine wheel, but there's 10 attributes, 10 animals. And so the reason I want to talk about this is because this can help us all, not just addicts, but just to keep our mental health up. We can often identify how we feel and then kind of seek the medicine from that. So in a Wellbriety, after you typically do a reading, something to meditate on, to think about, and then you sort of rate yourself with some Wellbriety numbers. And these ratings are animals, how you feel as an animal, and then sort of the medicine that you need. So I'll go through these and maybe you can identify how you're feeling today through the medicine wheel and these animals. So number 1 is the mouse. So if I was feeling like the mouse, I'm demonstrating that I can feel like I can hardly move. I'm not doing well if I'm 1. And so the medicine I need is hope. And sometimes we just need that. I know that word can be very super trendy and we've over abused it. But really, when you are feeling very low, when you are feeling like the mouse, when you're not feeling like this big white buffalo, you're just this small little mouse. Sometimes it feels hard to move today. And so you can just say, I feel like the mouse. I need hope today. The medicine I need is hope. Number 2 is the skunk. The skunk is where a lot of us live most mornings, right? So the skunk is stay out of my way. I don't want to hear it. I don't have room for it. I have an agenda today. I have things going on. Just stay out of my way. Don't come ask me how I'm doing, how I'm feeling. The medicine I need when I feel like a skunk is respect. Please respect my space, respect my time. I have things to do, people to see, all that kind of stuff. And that sounds kind of rude. I'm not saying it's the best place to be. I'm just saying sometimes that's what we need. We need the respect of our boundaries. We need the respect to say, I know what I'm doing. I just need you out of my way today. Number 3 is the rabbit. And when I think about the rabbit on the medicine wheel, I think about the rabbit from the Disney movie Alice in Wonderland. Right, I'm late to a very important date. As much as Alice tries to engage with the rabbit's very focused on what he's doing, and so in the medicine wheel, the rabbit would say, "I don't need any advice today. I don't want advice," and the medicine for the rabbit is love. Why does the rabbit need love? Well, sometimes we don't understand why the rabbit is in such a rush and the rabbit has to get stuff done. And I don't need your help and I don't need your advice and I just need to get from point A to point B. And we need to step back sometimes and just say, you know what? This person is a rabbit today and I just need to love them. I need to accept them. I need to encourage them and just, love really is just tolerance. And so the rabbit just needs love. Number 4 on the medicine wheel for animals is the salmon. So the salmon is this representation of fear, which is forget everything and run. So salmon are living in a place where they're very fearful. And it's interesting that's forget everything and run for a salmon who is a fish swimming, but you get the concept. And in that fear, in that element where it's the fight or flight kind of thing, that fear that exists requires the medicine of courage. And so I think we've all been in a place where we're fearful. We're fearful for what's going on in our country, what's going on in the world. We're fearful for losing our job, or we're fearful that we can't find a job, and we're ready to lose it. And maybe that's some of the chaos, right? I'm a fish and I think I can run. I need to get out of here, but I'm stuck. What that salmon needs is just courage. Courage to know everything's going to be okay. Courage to know that things will get better. That if I endure, like my elder, the buffalo, I can make it through this season of life. The next animal is number 5, which is the coyote. And the coyote is sort of turning this corner, right? So the coyote, how a coyote feels is I'm seeing daylight. There's hope. So think about the medicine wheel. The coyote is in the summer, and he sees the daylight. It's a very deceptive thing, right? We talked about that. And so when you're feeling like the coyote, you're kind of transitioning from where the mouse was feeling like it can hardly move. And you're starting to say, hey, you know what? That hope I was praying for as a mouse, that I was hoping for, the hope I was hoping for, I can see it. Okay, it's becoming clear. As I'm settling myself, I am seeing that hope. And so what the coyote needs, the medicine, is just flexibility. Just needs to stop being so rigid. I don't need any advice. Stay out of my way like the skunk and the rabbit. And stop adapting to fear and just start saying, I need to be flexible. There's people here to help me. There's people who are identifying my problems. And sometimes that's just us reaching out for help where we know there's help. I need to be ready to be flexible and take some advice that I might not want to hear. 6, the horse, sputtering but surviving. I think of a horse, right? The horse is sputtering but surviving, and this is a good place to be, actually. Because sputtering might feel like I'm running out of juice here, but actually the sputtering is just like about to come with this second wind. And sometimes we focus on the sputtering and we don't focus on the fact that we are actually surviving. We're making it through life. We're making it through the week. We're making it through the day. We're making it through this hour. And so the horse, the medicine he needs is confidence. Yes, I'm sputtering, but God damn it, I'm surviving. I'm going to make this happen today. The seventh animal is the bear. And so we kind of talked about the bear on the medicine wheel, but the bear, I like they say, cruising, but feeling interconnected. So bear's cruising, man. Bear feels good. Bear's ready to just rest and say, I'm accomplished. I've made it. I survived beyond horse. And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the connection between my mental, my physical, and my spiritual. I feel interconnected. What a great place to arrive at. What the bear still needs, though, is some medicine. And the medicine that the bear needs is to be responsible. I've made it this far. I've endured. How do I protect my emotions now? How do I make sure I'm putting things to rest? I'm letting go of what needs to be let go of. And I'm enduring what needs to be endured. I'm taking advice from the elders. Like the bear is needing to be responsible with his emotions now. And so that's a good place to be. But that medicine is still necessary to keep us going. 8 is the moose. And the moose is jamming, right? Moose is a big animal. Moose is the creator and I are talking. Now, think about this concept. I don't want you to immediately say, well, this is God or whatever. This is coming from indigenous people who don't believe in a Judeo-Christian God. But they're willing to say my creator, something greater than me. And so those of you that would profess to be self-made, great. Are you talking with yourself? Are you talking with that inner self? And are you communicating effectively? And so if you have a higher power, if you don't have a higher power, whatever you are communicating, when you're talking to yourself, when you're talking to your higher power, are you talking in a healthy manner, right? We've all had those moments where we're talking bad to ourselves or we're screaming at the universe at how fucked up everything is. The moose is saying, no, we're talking, we're engaging, we're healthy, we're in a good spot. We've taken the responsibility from the bear, and now, man, we're in harmony. And the medicine that the moose needs is gratitude. Gratitude is a very, very beneficial healing thing, scientifically proven to be beneficial for our health, to just be grateful. And so, my friends and I joke around about, Gabe here on this podcast joked around about giving our friends like 5 gratitudes a week or something. But in my daily conversations with my friends, Gabe and Brandon, we are constantly grateful. Even at our worst, we're being grateful. We're not always the moose, but the moose is saying, man, I'm grateful to be where I'm at. I'm grateful that I'm actually at peace and in harmony with myself. All right, 9, the eagle. We're almost there. There's only 10. 9 is the eagle, and the eagle is feeling the presence. So just think about this eagle spreading its wings and just feeling the presence and feeling like he's got introspection. He's above things. He sees things for what they are. He sees the folly of the wolf. He sees the rest in the bear. He sees the wisdom of the white buffalo. Like he's beginning to grasp, like, oh man, life is fucking awesome. I get it now. Everything has meaning. Everything has its place. It's a great place of introspection. And so the medicine that the eagle needs is passion. Don't lose this. Don't lose this feeling. Not everyone can fly. Sometimes we do feel like the mouse. Sometimes we're just hurried like the rabbit. Sometimes we're just so lost like the salmon. The eagle needs the passion to continue to soar. And so then we move to 10 and the white buffalo, and that's where we all want to arrive. And sometimes we feel like we're the white buffalo and then we'll slip back into a mouse, and that's called life. But man, when you're feeling the white buffalo, the way you feel is the ancestors are present, right? Doesn't get any better than this. This is good. This is whole. I have the wisdom. When the waves crash against me, I lose my job. My wife gets diagnosed with a bad disease. I find out my kid did something terrible at school or needs extra help. My parents are going to have to move in with me. Things just seem to be falling apart. The white buffalo says, that's okay. I'm going to turn my head, let those north winds come through. I'm going to endure this because I know that this too shall pass. And so what a great place to be, the white buffalo. And in that, the white buffalo still needs medicine. The white buffalo actually needs integrity. And so his medicine is integrity because, he just needs to withhold this example now, right? To example this point of finally being content with who I am, content with my weight, content with the diseases that I'm fighting on a daily basis, content with the pressures of my job, content with the pressures of being a father, being a husband, being these things to these other people. It does not overwhelm me. I am content because I have learned my path, and so that the integrity to uphold his head and to set the example. It's an amazing piece of being the buffalo. So, lots of information. I know Gabe does this all the time. Our host does this all the time. So I'm going to say the same thing. If I missed something, if you think I really jacked up something, or if you have a different view that you learned about the medicine wheel, please feel free to share with me. Won't be offended. I always love learning. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this. This is how I learned the medicine wheel from the North American tradition of indigenous people, especially in the plains where I live. I would challenge you today, take a look at the medicine wheel and just do a self-check. Check in with yourself. Just ask yourself, where am I feeling today? Maybe you use the Wellbriety numbers and maybe you're feeling a little bit of a coyote today, or maybe you're all the way down and just feeling like a mouse. Whatever it is, do your spiritual check, take your medicine, and heal your soul. I hope you learned something today. I'll be back at another time and we'll dive into something different. If you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just want to tell me that all this stuff sounds kooky, that's fine. But I want to reiterate what our show host always does, because I feel the exact same way. Thank you for your time if you watch this, and believe me, if I hated you, you would know.
All right, hopefully you enjoyed the video from David, the spiritual advisor. I thought it was really cool that he wanted to share that with this and with you guys, and I hope that if you're interested in sharing something like that you would. So please do that. Just make it collaborative. I love that. So past that, there's a short trailer for the next series that I'm working on, featuring some music from Davey Ottoby, who I talked to on the last episode. So look forward to that stuff. Until next time, I'm Gabe Giannis. I'm not that interesting of a guy. I'm just interested in interesting things. And if I hated you, you would know.